looked out over the stage and I saw that all the seats were empty. There was no one there. And I woke up. And I knew immediately that that beast of a man it was me. It was Sunday night. On Monday morning, I got up feeling a little confused. At about 9 o'clock, I'd slept well for the first time. And I decided to leave Shepparton forever. I had a few dollars in the bank back then. I'd draw that money out and I'd go to another state and stop at a small town somewhere, get a job, start life with another woman somewhere and start a new future because I had nothing left. So I walked outside the back door. It was a bright sunny morning, and from our back door outside at that time there were no fences, no shrubs, no trees, no obstacles, whatever. And I walked out the back door about 4 metres, and as I walked away from the house, with the house behind me, the back door, thinking about where am I going to go to, which state and which town. As I walked about 4 metres out, suddenly I didn't see anything, but something hit me like a sledgehammer, and I buckled over, right over. And in that position of being buckled over, I tried to pull myself up straight, and I couldn't. I could feel like a tremendous magnet pulling me down. And I thought, what's going on? And I just lost my tenseness, and momentarily, at that instant, I'm still bent over, staring at the ground. The ground opened up about 18 inches at my feet, and about that wide. And I felt my spirit and soul go straight out of my body, and I went straight down through the earth at a fantastic speed. Much, much faster than a bullet. And on the way down, I absolutely knew that I was dead. And it all came back to me, because I used to claim when you were dead, you were snuffed out. You were blotted out. You didn't exist anymore. And Jesus Christ was dead, and I was a blasphemer of his holy name. And so I went down at this fantastic speed, down, 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 and I came to the centre of the earth, and it opened up into an enormous, massive cavity. I couldn't see the end of it. There's no light down there. It's a bluey-grey mist. And I looked right down, and on the bottom of this massive cavity was a dirty, yellowy, old army khaki coloured lake. And as I sunk down into it, the last thoughts I had were, I'm gone forever. And I looked up into the void, and I saw something far worse than hell where I was. In the void above me was a small black cloud, about 18 inches round. And a voice spoke to me, very audible, very harsh and commanding. This is the wrath of God, and I'm very angry with you. And God flung me up out of that lake, and I came straight up through the earth the same way as I'd come down at this massive speed. And when I come up out of the ground, I saw something that I had never read of, I'd never heard about, and I certainly would never have believed. I came up out of the ground and I looked up, and there, about 3 metres from me, was my body. This one. Not still buckled over where I left it, but standing still like this. Just like a statue. And it was an awesome, awesome sight to see myself from outside my body. And I was out there for some time and I had a really good look. And then I felt myself being drawn towards my body, and I felt my spirit and soul, my life, come in at my chest, and God released me, and I spun around, and I had one thought in my mind: to hide from God. This is the scene that happened back then in 1976. As I came out the back door, and at that time there was nothing in front of me, just this bare hill, and I walked over towards the edge here, and suddenly I was hit in my stomach, and I buckled over. And I was buckled over like this, and I went to come up, and I couldn't, and I could feel like a tremendous magnet pulling me down. And I thought, what's going on? And I came out of my body and went straight down where that black strip is there. That's about how wide the ground, perhaps another 3 inches wider, and about that width. And I went straight down through the earth at this fantastic speed, much, much faster than a bullet, and it went down into the middle of the earth. It opened up into an enormous cavity, which was hell, and the lake of brimstone was down there, the dirty, khaki coloured lake, but it hadn't been lit. There was no fire. It was just the lake itself. And as I sunk into it, and the last thoughts I had were, I'm gone forever, and I looked up into the bluey, misty haze, which is the only light down there, and in the void above me was a black cloud about 18 inches round, and a voice spoke to me. The voice said, "This is the wrath of God, and I'm very angry with you." And God hurled me up out of that lake and straight up through the earth. But when I came up through the earth, I didn't come out here again where I went in. I came up out of the earth about here. And I looked up. As I came up out of the earth, I looked up, and there was my body, this one, still over there, but not bent over, but standing erect like a statue. And I was out here for quite some time and had a real good look at myself from outside, and then I felt myself being drawn towards my body, and I actually felt myself come in at the chest. And I spun around, God released me, and I ran back inside the house, and then other things happened there. And I ran through the back door, through the kitchen, turned right to come up to the passage, and the bedroom I intended to hide in the wardrobe, in the built-in robe. And as I ran past the first room on the left, which was my study back then, something like a clamp or a pair of hands put their hands on the run around my arms here and threw me physically into that room. And I stood there in front of my bookshelves, and all I could do was just stare as my right arm, in ever so slowly, and my hand reached out in a beautiful motion and took a little book that was amongst my books. And I looked at it, and it had Holy Bible written on it.